What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Freedom Fire podcast. My name is Kendall Bowman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a little different show than normal because we have some very sad news. I have been accused on this show in the past of hating parents or bashing parents or just being very hard on parents on this specific show. And that's for a reason. It's for a reason. I am a parent. I have a 1-year-old daughter. Okay. I plan on having many more kids. Me and my wife both do. Okay. So I am hard on parents because ultimately our children, their safety, their education, ultimately all of that is because it's our responsibility. All of that is our responsibility. But ultimately, we as parents in this society, we keep passing off that responsibility to other people. Excuse me. We keep passing it off to other people. Here, government, raise my kid for me. Here, daycare, raise my kid for me. And I get it. There's some situations, maybe you're a single parent, it's difficult. It's difficult. But ultimately, there are ways to make it work without giving up all your responsibilities as a parent to the state. And I'm going to get into that because, guys, the stories, there's two stories I have for you today. They're both along the same lines. The stories I have for you are ridiculous. They're insane. Okay? And the state's not going to save you. The government's not going to save you. They don't care about you. They don't care about your kids. They care about covering their butts. And they care about wokeness. Of course. Before we get into that, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. And that's going to be the end of my begging for the day. All right, guys, let's get into this. From Redux, exclusive transgender daycare worker avoids prison after sexually abusing a baby during a diaper change. Yep. Now, before I continue reading, if there's any parents watching this, I want you to imagine this is your baby. Imagine that's your baby at that daycare. Just imagine it. Let's continue. A trans-identified male in Kentucky has reached a plea deal after being charged with sexually abusing a baby and will avoid prison so long as he meets certain conditions. Maria Childers, a former daycare worker, hired a prominent trans activist lawyer to represent him in his sickening case. Man, this is hard. This is hard to read. As previously reported by Redux, Childers was arrested in February of 2023 after the Department of Community-Based Services received an anonymous tip detailing an alleged incident of abuse that had occurred in November of 2022 at Explore Learning Academy. The tip, reportedly written by one of Childers' co-workers, accused him of making inappropriate comments towards an infant while changing the child's diaper and touching the baby inappropriately. Redux has now obtained court records detailing the full complaint against Childers, which showed that he was accused of both physical and sexual abuse while employed at the daycare. And this is, of course, how Childers like to dress at the daycare. I don't know if you guys can tell or not. He kind of looks like a dude. I don't know. I can't tell. This says the sex is female, but you know how these things work these days. You can't really tell, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe they are female. Maybe they're, I mean, it says that they're transgender and they're dressing up as a girl. So I'm going to guess this is a dude that's rolling around in a dress. And he likes to abuse babies sexually. Gosh, that's a real winner right there, guys. Just a real freaking winner. Which showed that he was accused, but let's continue. Following the receipt of the initial anonymous complaint, a DCBS caseworker, a police officer from the Paducah Police Department, went to the daycare on February 8th, 2023 to interview witnesses. After speaking to a number of staff, they were able to corroborate the anonymous report. According to witness testimony, a co-worker had asked Childers for assistance in changing an infant's diaper while Childers was cleaning the baby's. The co-worker noticed that the infant appeared to be in distress and asked Childers if he was hurting the baby. She then witnessed Childers rub the infants in a circular motion while saying, you guys can read that there. You guys can read that there. I'm not going to get too much into that because family-friendly show, first of all, and second of all, I just can't. As a father, I can't. While Childers was reported to management at the academy, he was only given a write-up. Wow, a write-up. Police... Listen to that. This daycare, while Childers was reported to management at the academy, he was only given a write-up. So this incident where he sexually assaulted someone's daughter was told to management. Management was informed that this man had sexually assaulted this child at this daycare. And they gave him a write-up. They gave him a write, meaning he was still allowed to work there. Let's continue. Police later learned that Childers had also been accused of other co-workers of leaving the children in high chairs for hours without care. Right, because why would you ever expect a pedophile to care about a kid's safety? He's a pedophile. He's a freak. Like, of course he leaves them in chairs for hours without care. Let's continue. After being taken to the police station for questioning, Childers initially claimed he had not changed the infant's diaper at all. He later admitted to having done so after an officer presented him with evidence in the form of a text that he had sent to the daycare's director confirming the baby's diaper had been changed. He then tried to deny he had ever said anything inappropriate, but admitted he often said things that were taken out of context. He often said things that were taken out of context. Okay. Childers was placed under arrest and charged with 1 count of first-degree sexual abuse of a victim under 12 and 3 counts of first-degree criminal abuse of a child under 12. He was then booked at the McCracken County Jail. There has been some confusion over the spelling of his last name, with the courts, police, and his social feeds having different spellings, alternating between Childress. The Kentucky Court of Justice has his name spelled Childress, but his own signature and defense documents read Childers. That's not important to the story. While Childers was originally marked as a male by both police and the jail, internal documents obtained by Redux revealed that his recorded sex was later switched to female by the McCracken County Jail. Boy, this is fantastic, isn't it? Really makes you feel good as a parent, all this garbage. Are all the parents listening out there? Are you listening? Are you seeing this? I really hope you're paying attention, because this is insane, man. Court records show that just 1 month after being booked on felony charges, Childers privately retained trans activist lawyer Madison Leach to represent him. Leach, a male who began identifying as a woman 7 years ago, was the first openly transgender candidate to seek public office in Western Kentucky when he ran as a Democrat for the Callaway County attorney seat. Leach recently threatened to leave Kentucky over Senate Bill 150, which would make it optional for public school teachers to use a student's preferred pronouns. Of course he did. Shoot, they might just pass that bill just because of that. I mean, shoot, you're going to leave if we pass this bill? I see this as an absolute win. Oh, man. Trying to laugh through the pain, guys. Trying to laugh through the pain. After taking on the case, Leach submitted a motion to reduce Childers' bond, complaining that he did not have access to estrogen while in solitary confinement at McCracken County Jail. 1, the defendant will participate in any programs and services of pretrial services. The defendant will obtain an ankle monitor device and will not be around children as a condition of his bond. We don't affirm delusion on this show. 3, the defendant will stay in contact with her attorney. 4, the jail has the defendant in solitary confinement because she is a trans woman. Right. You know, he's in solitary confinement because he's a trans woman. You know, not because he diddled a kid. No. Couldn't be because of that reason, you know. It's because he's trans. Totally. And has undergone hormonal changes. Solitary confinement can have many detrimental effects on the mind of the individual. Further, he is not received all of his medicines because some of the medicines he receives in patch form. Not having her estrogen can have harmful effects on his mind and body. After some negotiation with the court, the motion was ultimately approved, and Childers' bond was reduced from $100,000 to just $5,000 Soretti. The bond conditions include no contact with children and to remain away from the daycare where he had been employed. Childers was released from custody in January of 2024. On January 29, 2024, Childers struck an apparent deal with prosecutors. In exchange for a guilty plea, his charge of first-degree sexual abuse of a victim under 12 was amended to Class A misdemeanor sexual misconduct, and the remaining abuse charges were dropped. Judge Joseph Rourke handed Childers a 12-month penalty, but withheld sentencing and imposed a conditional discharge for 6 months. If Childers abides by the conditions set by the court during the 6-month period, he will not serve any prison time at all and may not even receive a criminal record. Are you paying attention, parents? Are you paying attention? So, this man who believes he's a woman can go and rape a child while changing their diaper, can molest a child, and get no prison time. What should this tell you as a parent? This should tell you that, 1, the daycare that your kid is at right now does not give a flying rip about your children. This incident was reported to the daycare, and the most punishment that they could provide was a write-up? I don't know. How about fire the guy? But no, they didn't, because they don't care. And of course, you know, they just want to cover their own butts. Oh, we don't want this to get out that we fired this guy because he was molesting kids. No one will ever bring their kid back here. We want to continue making money, right? That's what it's about, guys. That's what it's about. It's about money. They don't care. They don't care about your kid. Listen, guys, at the end of the day, you should be expecting that you are the only person on this planet that cares about your kid. That should be your expectation every single day. No one cares about my kid but me. No one cares about my child but his or her parents. That should be your thinking every single day. That should be your thought, your expectation. And when you have that expectation, it becomes easier to realize, oh, if I put my kid in this daycare, what's going to happen if someone hurts my kid in here? Are they going to tell me about it? Are they going to inform me? Or what's going to happen? You are giving up the responsibility. Well, that's that's an abuse of language. You're not giving up the responsibility. You are putting the responsibility. You're keeping the responsibility, but you're not doing your job, if you will. Because as a parent, you're still responsible for your kid's safety. But you're failing in that job because you're putting them in the hands of people like this. Oh, I'm going to put my kid in a daycare. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to have lots of free time. But of course, you didn't know that there was a pedophile working at that daycare. Maybe you didn't know that there was a pedophile working at that public school. Maybe you didn't know that. I've stated this fact. I've stated this fact many times on this show. Okay? There are 29,000 cases every year of public school employees molesting children. 29,000. Now, compare that to another group that gets a really bad rap of molesting kids, and that's Catholic priests. And rightly so. Catholic priests need to answer for this because they have 300 cases every year. Catholic priests have 300 cases every year where a Catholic priest has molested a child. 300 cases every year in the United States. Public school employees, like I just said though, 29,000. I hope you're all listening. I hope you're paying attention. Guys, we got to stop giving up our children to the monsters. There are parents every day that wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go hand my kid over to a demon today. I'm going to actively make that choice. And your children will be screwed up because of it. They will be harmed and they will be traumatized because of that choice. This little girl, I pray that God heals her. I pray that God heals her mind. I pray that he takes away the trauma because excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. As a father, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine what that little girl experienced. I can't imagine being a parent and realizing that you made the choice to put your kid in that situation. You chose to take your kid to that daycare. Guys, we can't do it. We can't do this anymore, man. It's time for parents to once again to stop sending their kids off to the state or sending the kids off to some daycare and saying, here's my child. You raise them for 10 hours a day while I go do my own thing, while I go work my job. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a nice house. I live in a nice house. Me and my wife, we've been blessed by God to live, to be able to purchase this home and to live in a nice home. I would give up this home in a heartbeat, and I would live in a cardboard box on the side of the road if it means that my child is safe from predators, that my child is safe from being molested by pedophiles. I would live on the freaking streets tomorrow because my child's safety, the purity of my child, is not worth living in a nice home, driving a nice car. Kendall, what are you saying? I'm saying you should homeschool your kids. You need at least one parent to stay at home, watch the kids. Or if you're a single parent, I don't know, man. If you're a single parent, maybe you have, grandparents or something that can watch the kids. Maybe you have siblings that can help you watch your kids and things like that. Some situations, I get it. Some situations are really hard. And I'm sorry about that. But you got to make a choice. Live a more difficult life or put your kid in the hands of that piece of garbage right there. You go ahead and serve your kid up to him. See if he cares about your difficult life. He doesn't. He's going to take what he wants from your child. And I know what you guys are thinking. Kendall, this has nothing to do with the public schools. The public schools aren't that. What are you talking about? Okay. We got this story. This is an exclusive from Louder with Crowder. Go check out Louder with Crowder over on Rumble. They do great work. This is an incredible story that they've released. Exclusive. Police report confirms elaborate Columbine-style mass shooting plans found in Wisconsin students' manifesto. The parents were not informed, by the way. Just before we get into this, I'm going to read you some of the police report detailing the manifesto, some of the things that were in this kid's manifesto, some of what his plans were, okay? And just understand, the parents were not informed. Let's read. A police report exclusively obtained by Louder with Crowder's Mug Club undercover unit reveals the extent of a credible terrorist threat made against students at Chippewa Middle School in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. On October 23rd, 2023, school resource officer Dan Downey responded to a request from the school's Dean Hahn about multiple Aristotle alerts triggered by a student. According to the police report, an Aristotle alert is a program that notifies the school's administration of certain words typed or searched on school computers. Search inquiries identified by the system include the notorious Columbine High School shooting and bomb making. Following an interview with the student in question, a notebook was later found in their possession. The notebook included what the police report repeatedly refers to as a manifesto. After reviewing the manifesto, school administration determined this was indeed a serious threat. The manifesto included detailed plans on how the student intended to carry out a massacre at the Wisconsin school. I'm going to avoid these because I'm going to go in a little bit more detail on what's in the manifesto itself. Louder with Crowder is publishing a redacted version of the full police report. After outreach about intentions to publish the police report last night, the school finally sent out an email informing the parents of students in the district about the incident. However, they did not mention a manifesto specifically. Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. So, what could be in this manifesto? Well, it couldn't have been that bad, right? Well, because, they didn't tell parents about it. Public schools always just tell parents about, if it's serious enough, they'll tell the parents, right? Right. I want you to tell me whether or not this is serious enough. Redacted continues on the next page, talking about how he hates Christians and they want to effing end it all. They talk about the indoctrination of children in reference to Christianity. Okay. He states, I want to kill every old man and woman who has claim to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit by chopping off their effing heads off and putting them on a stick to show there is no God, only human nature. That's serious enough for you? Is that serious? No? Okay, let's continue. Then continues talking about how they needs a woman to assist him because just because you have a nice face and a nice set of, you can read that yourself, doesn't mean you're above anyone else. The next page, they talk about how they plan on targeting the jocks and then explain why they would target the jocks. They continue stating, I will, when I am 18, take a drive to the store and buy a 20-gauge shotgun and drive up to the Canadian wilderness and off myself. But I think that I will follow through with the massacre. This young child at a middle school is specifically planning. This is a plan. I think that I will follow through with the massacre. Talks about purchasing a trench coat, black, combat boots, cargo pants, and a black shirt with the word wrath inscribed on it with red letters. This, of course, was first seen in the Columbine shooting. They continue stating that they're going to try and murder as many people as they can by shooting them as they make their way into the school. References Columbine by stating they are looking for their Dylan to their Eric. They mentions a bomb by the propane in the lunch line, but states it's much harder because of the surveillance equipment. So, this is a kid that has in the lunch line, looking at the propane in the lunchroom. Oh, I could put a bomb there. Oh, but I can't because there's security. This is a kid that's planning, okay? This is a kid that is actively making a plan to set bombs and kill children in this school. The next page talks about creating chaos by placing explosives and blowing up cars in the parking lot, or using the cover of smoke to shoot all the students. The next thing states, I could, on November 30th, crossed out, October 30th, release a bunch of mega smoke bombs in the town. Let's continue. Let's get down to this part. On the next page, they state, I effing hate the people who know they were threatened and are in the face of imminent danger and do nothing, aka everyone at my school, except the following resource officer. That dip-ish chose the wrong job. He should have a known word. The Army and got shipped overseas so he wouldn't see all the things I'm going to do to the precious students that he tries to defend. Wow. I mean, how can you sit there and say that this is not a credible threat? How can you sit there and say that? Ultimately, these school officials deemed that this was not a credible threat, and that is why they did not inform parents. The Louder with Crowder undercover team was tipped off about this by a source in this area. I'm assuming it's probably someone either within the local police department or somebody within the school. I don't know. But they were tipped off, and they had to do a FOIA request to this police department in order to get this. So these parents would have never known to reach out and put in a FOIA request for this. They would have never known. If Louder with Crowder's team did not leak this or did not get this information, these parents would never know that their child was very close to being killed in a Columbine-style mass shooting. And of course, the school administration covered it up for two reasons. One, because they're trying to cover their butts, as government officials do. They always look out for themselves first. It's just what government people do. You work for the government, you look out for yourself. It is what it is. These are bureaucrats. These are people that work for the government system. Okay? They're not worried about anything but themselves, ultimately. So they're going to cover their own butts first. And two, they covered this up because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the narrative. Earlier in this same school year, there was a teacher who had heard a comment made by a student about some kind of gun threat. Okay? They did a full investigation, and then they decided that, okay, there isn't really any threat here. This was hearsay. There's no threat. But they still informed parents of that. They reached out to parents and said that this is what happened. And we concluded that there was no threat. That is exactly what they should have done here. But they didn't, because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the narrative. Oh, a kid that hates Christians? A kid that hates Christians wants to go kill Christians? Boy, that sounds a lot like that Nashville shooting, right? Boy, let's just bury we'll just expel the kid from the school, which they did, and we won't tell anybody because we don't want this getting out. This is like, we can't have anyone thinking that Christians are being persecuted, right? Can't have anyone thinking that Christian children are in danger of being murdered. Ladies and gentlemen, this is two instances now. The Nashville shooting. Well, it's more than that, actually, because I believe you have the Christchurch shooting. You have this shooting here, and then you have the Nashville shooting. It's three instances so far where deranged psychopaths, deranged lunatics, decided that they just hate Christians. Because let's be honest, our schools are teaching kids that Christianity is wrong. They're teaching kids that Christianity is indoctrination. This is what they're teaching them. This is the reality. They are teaching your children that your religion is just indoctrination. That's what they're teaching. And it's no wonder that these kids grow up and eventually there's one out of the thousands that decides to take their curriculum into their own hands. Oh, it's all indoctrination? maybe I should do something about that. Maybe I should put a stop to this quote unquote indoctrination of Christian children. They covered their own butts, and the manifesto didn't fit their narrative of, the evil white supremacist who just wanted to kill kids. The thing that we mainly hear from the media. Oh, this white supremacy problem, it's everywhere. It's such a big issue in America. It's the number one issue in America right now is this white supremacy. They covered this up. Parents were not informed. So, once again, I'm going to ask you the question. What should this tell you as a parent? It should tell you that the state does not care. They don't care about your kid. They don't care about you. All of your parental rights go out the window as soon as you give your child away to a daycare or to a public or private school. Every single one of your parental rights is immediately gone the minute your child walks through those doors. They're gone. These people don't think that they need to inform you of anything. Excuse me. They don't think that they need to inform you. They don't think that you're important at all. Oh, your child was this close to dying by being blown up by a deranged lunatic. I don't think we're gonna let you know. I don't think it's worth telling you. You're not worth our time. Yeah, you don't deserve to know. You don't deserve it. You're only the parent of that child. You're only the one who helped to bring that child into the world. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to homeschool your kids. You have to homeschool your kids. I mean, you can go on my Twitter anytime at Freedom Fire Podcast. And you can see I'm constantly screaming this from the high heavens. Just please homeschool your kids. Homeschool your kids. Because there's stories constantly just like these popping up all over the place. All the time. Talking about stuff exactly like this. And what do parents do? They just keep sending their kids. I just keep sending off my kids to the demons. Just keep handing off my kids over to the pedophiles. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, I get it. You might be a single parent. Your life is hard. I get that. But you got to make a choice. You got to make a choice. And there is no instance, there is not a single instance where handing your kids over to that is the right choice. There's not a single instance where that is the right choice. Not a single one. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously, being a parent is difficult. It is difficult. But ultimately, that's what you signed up for, isn't it? You got to make a choice, guys. We as parents cannot keep doing this. Because this is becoming more and more rampant every day. Stories like this. It happens every day, stuff like this, in America. And parents just seemingly just never learn. Guys, it's time that we learned. It's time that we learned. Please, please listen to me. I am not attacking you as a parent. I am pleading with you as a parent. Stop handing your kids over to these demonic monsters who only wish to harm your kids. And even if the other people, the other staff in the facility don't want to harm your kids, they'll at least cover up the harm to your kids. Which makes them demons as well. Of course. Man, this was a hard video to make. It's a very hard video to make. I can't believe that parents keep putting their kids in these situations. Guys, it's got to stop, man. This can't keep happening. This is garbage. This little girl was harmed in this way because some parent said, oh, well, I got to go work my 9 to 5, It's not worth it. All the money in the world, it's not worth this. It's not worth your child having to experience that. It's not worth it, guys. You can sit there and you can say, oh, well, whatever. Make all the excuses you want. I'm sure your child will agree with you. I'm sure they'll agree with you as you hand them over to the demon. I'm sure they'll agree with you. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section, and share the show with your friends. Follow me on all the socials down in the description and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos. Guys, protect your families, protect your friends, keep your children close. And I pray that all of you will be protected from this insanity. Thank you guys so much for watching, and God bless.